Voldemort is my past, present, and future.
The main villain of the Harry Potter universe is a terrifying and powerful wizard who seeks to dominate the entire magical world. Voldemort's ideology promotes strength and power and emphasizes the importance of blood purity. The Dark Lord despises Muggles and aims to create a society where pureblood wizards rule over Muggleborns and blood traders. Let's analyze Voldemort's views through the lens of philosophy and see which thinkers from the past he echoes. As a ruler, Voldemort is an absolute tyrant. His political philosophy can be interpreted in the context of Plato's theory of the state. In his work, the ancient Greek philosopher wrote about how a just society should be organized. Today, we would describe many of his ideas as totalitarian, and the society he envisioned likely wouldn't align with our modern concept of justice. Nevertheless, much of what Plato described remains relevant and holds not only historical but philosophical value. According to Plato, a tyrant is a ruler who holds power through violence and fear. He pursues personal goals and cares little about public interests. By definition, he cannot be just. Unsurprisingly, such a ruler is unpopular, makes enemies, and lives in constant fear for his life. Exactly what we see in Voldemort. Plato stated that a tyrant is, first and foremost, a demagogue who tells people what they want to hear and blames other rulers for injustice and ineffectiveness. The same applies to the Dark Lord. His radical ideology is largely based on criticism of the existing order in magical Britain. Like Plato's tyrant, he starts by promising to restore privileges to supposedly oppressed pureblood wizards. He offers many rewards for loyalty and for joining the Death Eaters. However, as he gains more power, he becomes increasingly cruel and ruthless, using violence and threats to crush anyone who stands in his way. Thus, like Plato's tyrant, the Dark Lord maintains power through fear and demagoguery. Plato believed that such a ruler is doomed to fail because his decisions cannot be wise or just. He lacks the love of the people and genuine loyalty. Voldemort's followers remain in the Death Eater ranks only out of fear, not devotion, with the exception of Bellatrix. Plato was absolutely right in saying that governance under these conditions cannot be stable. Moreover, one of the main reasons Voldemort was defeated was the double game played by Snape, who remained loyal to the other side. So here we are. Ideas that are more than 2,000 years old remain relevant in the modern world, and even in the world of magic. If Voldemort ever read Muggle philosophers, his favorite book would likely be The Prince by Niccolò Machiavelli. Many of the Dark Lord's governing principles resemble those proposed by the Florentine philosopher in the 15th century. Machiavelli argued that the most important thing for any ruler is to maintain power, and that is precisely Voldemort's ultimate goal. Machiavelli claimed that leaders should use fear to preserve authority and ensure stability in the state. He believed that people are more likely to obey and respect a strong, decisive leader than a weak and hesitant one. In this sense, fear is far more effective than love. He who must not be named is a master of intimidation. Wizards are so terrified they don't even dare speak his name. The main similarity between Machiavelli and Voldemort is their belief that the end justifies the means. Machiavelli wrote that leaders must be capable of deception and manipulation, and that they should stop at nothing to achieve their goals, even if it means killing. Voldemort follows the same logic. He kills without hesitation, especially if he feels someone threatens his power. Other people, to him, are just tools. This mindset would be entirely rejected by Immanuel Kant, who believed that people should be treated as ends in themselves, since each individual has inherent value. Voldemort, by contrast, sees no value in even his most loyal followers. They can be discarded at any moment if needed. The biggest difference between Machiavelli's philosophy and Voldemort's is that Machiavelli advised rulers to maintain the image of a good and honest person in order to win over the public. Voldemort couldn't care less about how he appears in the eyes of others. There's a common belief that the creation of Voldemort and the ideology of the Death Eaters was inspired by real historical events. Indeed, it's easy to see the parallels between blood purity in the magical world and the racial theories popular in the 20th century. There's a direct parallel between the Death Eaters and the Third Reich. Voldemort believes that Muggle-borns should die simply because of how they were born. In the real world, this kind of division between our people and subhumans formed the foundation of Nazi ideology and was used to justify atrocities. Many assume that Friedrich Nietzsche was the ideological inspiration for such views, even though he died long before World War II. Calling him the father of Nazism is fundamentally incorrect. In truth, there are far fewer similarities between Nietzsche's worldview and Voldemort's than one might think. But there are still some. Like Nietzsche, Voldemort believes that not all people are equal. He sees strong and weak individuals and criticizes a system that supports the weak and sick. He believes that so-called slave morality suppresses pure-blood wizards and forces them to bury their supposed greatness for the sake of equality. Voldemort constantly strives to surpass himself and conquer death. In that sense, he seeks to become an Übermensch, Superman. According to Nietzsche, the Übermensch is someone who overcomes their limitations and reaches a higher stage of development. They live according to their own values and standards, not societal or religious norms. In the books, Voldemort is shown to value decisiveness, cunning, and disregard for rules, exactly the traits Nietzsche's Übermensch would possess. Voldemort plays with fire, takes huge risks for power and immortality, and loses all humanity when he creates Horcruxes. He denies the value of freedom, strength, and individuality in others, recognizing them only in himself. All of this stems from his inner weakness and fear of death. Harry, in contrast, becomes truly strong when he accepts his mortality at the end of the story. In the end, Voldemort has little in common with Nietzsche's true Übermensch, but he acts in a desperate Nietzschean spirit, all or nothing. So what do you think? Which philosopher's ideas would Voldemort actually like?